Hello, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, this is Professor Jeremiah Elioso for Operations Management in Tourism and Hospitality. And last time we were actually talking about guestology, and today is a continuation on that topic. And we are to focus on the guest experience. All right, so I'm very much excited. So let's start. The guest experience is the sum total of the experience that the guest has with the service provider on a given occasion or set of occasions. So, in summation, guest experience is equals to the product plus setting plus delivery system. And actually, in the next slide, we will be talking about the details of this components of guest experience. But many times over, I'm sure that you have a lot of stories to tell about the many great experience that you've had in the various restaurants that you have visited, or maybe the hotels that you have checked in. And just to be fair, I'm sure that you've also had some nightmares or moments of truth wherein you had a bad or negative experience from these different establishments. And that is something that we are going to study for today about the guest experience. All right, so let us learn further. So, first component of the guest experience is the service product. This is sometimes called the service package or service product mix. And it is why the customer, client, or guest comes to the organization in the first place. Just like when you visit a restaurant, obviously the main reason why you go there is because of the food. All right. And maybe there are secondary reasons why you go there. So, such that an organization's reason for being is often embodied in the name of the business, just like Starbucks coffee. And obviously, you know that their main product or their specialty is coffee. And KFC, although it's an acronym, and we know that it means Kentucky Fried Chicken, meaning to say that their main product or they specialize in fried chicken. And so it's the same with Dunkin' Donuts, and that you know that their main product would be donut. So this is the service product. Okay. The basic product can be relatively tangible, like a hotel room, or relatively intangible, like a rock concert. So a service product could both be tangible or intangible. Most service products have both tangible and intangible elements, and that can range from mostly product with little service to mostly service with little or if any product. So it could be a combination. Now let's talk about the service setting. Service setting or environment is where experience takes place. So obviously you're thinking of the immediate environment or the venue by which the service takes place or the experience takes place. And there is a term called service scape or the landscape within which service is experienced. And this has been used to describe the physical aspects of that setting that contribute to the guest's overall physical feel of that experience. And I can tell from my own experience that truly the service setting or the landscape of the venue contributes to the overall feeling that you get from that moment. All right. So, for example, the attention to detail in the physical setting clearly adds to the value of the Walt Disney World Resort experience. All right. And since we were talking about guestology, and you know, the very essence or origin of guestology is from Disney. So it adds up to the total experience of being happy, gay, being childlike, being festive, the overall ambiance when you visit the Walt Disney World Resort experience. And I remember many years ago when I have visited um Disneyland in Hong Kong, the feeling is really magical. And even I'm already on my 30s, I can still feel that I am a child at heart because of the servicescape. And I think that Disney has been very successful in truly bringing the magic in everything. Okay, you see that when you visit the different booth or different stations and facilities in the whole of Disneyland Resort, it's thematic, or you can feel the ambiance. You can really feel that you're like in a movie. All right. So the servicescape is extremely important to the themed entertainment, or you put the entertainment in eating or in dining. And also, especially that with the advent of the many different thematic restaurant, because people nowadays are into Instagrammable restaurants. All right. So I'm sure that you have been into a lot of themed restaurants, whether that's a K-pop themed restaurant or an 80s diner type of thing, music themed restaurant, or the theme is related to a particular movie, perhaps, or a type of cuisine or origin from a country. Okay, so they use the distinctive theme of the food service setting as a primary means of distinguishing themselves from other restaurants. And we have to put in mind that in Servicescape, the for you to be able to achieve this whole Servicescape thing, it has to be holistic. It has to be, you make the intangible tangible. I mean, it's not just about what you see or what your eyes could perceive. It's not just about the play of colors, but it's the overall aesthetics, plus the temperature, the music, the texturing adds up to the overall concept. And that is that you have to put all of the elements, you have to stitch them together so that you will have a cohesive flow of all of the elements, thus adding up to the success of your service scape. All right, let's go to the third component, which is the service delivery system. And this includes the human components, the physical production process, and the organizational and information systems and techniques. All right. So human components. So these are like the restaurant server who places the meal on the table, or the sound engineer at the rock concert. So the human component is very important because they are the ones who is the brain behind all of this. Without the human component, or without the human resource, the service won't be delivered. I mean, we need highly efficient wait staff to deliver the sumptuous food that the chefs have prepared. We need to have excellent uh, flight attendants to attend to our needs at the airplane. All right. With the physical production process, it's like the kitchen facilities in the restaurant or the rock concert, sophisticated amplification system. Okay. So this is the physical venue, although that can be somehow like part of the service scape, but we need a we need to have good facilities to execute the service. Okay, organization and information system that and techniques that help deliver the service to the customer. So it's the process, it's the methodology, their techniques to be able to deliver you your service to an excellent service. Okay, so you need all of these elements of service delivery so that it will be a great experience for the guest. The people interacting with customers or guests are by far the most important components of the service delivery system and the most challenging to manage. It is the wait staff, the cabin crew, the desk agents, and the valet parkers, their attitude, friendliness, genuine concern, and helpfulness largely determine both the value and the quality of the experience for the guest. So, the role and the duty of the frontliners or the hospitality frontliners or the members of the front of the house, because they have this special connection. They are the ones who are able to communicate with the guest. Their role is very important, and the HR and the management should be able to train their staff that these people or employees should be competent enough, so they have to have the right knowledge, skills, and attitude to serve the guests so that they will be satisfied. Okay, so the feeling that the guest takes away from the guest experience is largely derived from what happens during that encounters or interaction between the guest and the employee. And the less tangible the service product, the more the server becomes in defining the quality and value of the guest experience. So, no wonder the leading hotels, restaurants, and other hospitality organizations spend endless hours and countless dollars finding, training, and supporting their frontline employees. So that's what I have been mentioning since a while ago. If these folks fail to do it right, the guest and everyone the guest ever tells about the experience may be lost. So y- maybe you're thinking that being in the front line in the hospital is just very easy. You just need to smile. You need just need to greet the guest, but it's more than that. It's more than just smiling and greeting. There's you need to go special training to be able to equip yourself with the right knowledge, skills, and attitude to be able to serve our guests, and so that their experience will be satisfactory. All right, service encounters and moments of truth. Service encounter is often used to refer to the person to person interaction or series of interactions between the customer and the person delivering the service. Service encounter is employee interactions with customers, and many times that are it is the frontliners or hospitality frontliners would have the first hand experience or interaction with our employees, with our guests. I mean, the length of a typical service encounter will vary from one service provider or organizational type to another. But regardless of whether the interaction or the service encounter may be long or it's short, what's more important is that you are able to connect with the guests and that their service interaction is fruitful, it's meaningful, it's satisfactory, it's excellent. Many service situations or interactions between organization and guests are now automated. Of course, we're on the 21st century, and many industries are now taking advantage of computers, robots, applications, and maybe, I mean, it's a double bladed sword. It could be an advantage or it could also be a disadvantage. Why do you think so? I mean, it could be a disadvantage because of the high cost of investment with automation. You need special machine to be able to use this automation system. There's high cost of maintenance. You need special training for that. Okay, and the machines and computers and the apps are taking away the job of the people. And since we are on the third world country, we are aware that the investment of this kinds of technology are very expensive, and we have high numbers of people who are unemployed. So really, we have to find a balance of advancing to the automation that is being done on the first world country. Okay, let's take a look into the moments of truth or critical incident. These are service encounters or interaction are crucial importance to the guest evaluation or service quality, and they can make or break the entire guest experience. Moments of truth or key moments during these interactions and to some brief encounters or interactions. Moments of truth are any significant or memorable interaction point between the server and the guest or organization and guest. That 15 golden seconds is very critical time or moment by which you could make very good first impression, and that could make or break you. And in psychology we call that the halo effect. When that first impression intends, I mean, the tendency of that first impression to last, we call that the halo effect. And I mean, that could propel you to advantage if that 15 golden seconds would be a very good first impression. But if that 15 golden seconds would would be a negative experience or would create a negative first impression, it could somehow break you. It could be disadvantages on your end. So that's why it's another challenge for the hospitality frontliners to be able to deliver, to be able to set a very good first impression, because it's a critical incident. That is why there are some other ways by which we could tangibilize, we could set good first impression to our guests, that they would have a very nice experience. I mean, starting with the uniform of the hospitality frontliners, their personality, their grooming, their deportment, and let us also add the wonderful aesthetics that we have in the hospitality industry. I mean, when you try to look around the pompous hotel lobby, you see chandelier, you see flowers, you see lavish furniture. It's creating that critical incident or that 15 golden seconds, because that's the initial area by which the guest would go to when they visit a hotel. And it's important that the bell person, that the receptionist, the security guards, the valet person, because these are the key people who would create that first impression, that 15 golden seconds. It's very critical. So they have to be highly adept, highly skilled to create very good first impression. Communication skill is very important so that they would be able to deliver or communicate the information properly. All right. Services and manufactured products have different characteristics. Manufactured products tend to be tangible, produced, shipped, and purchased now for consumption later, and lacking in much in, if any, interaction between the manufacturer and the consumer. And that is the nature of service. Services tend to be, I mean, for the products, but services tend to be intangible, and we are aware of that. Services could be purchased. It could be purchased first, and then it could be simultaneously produced and consumed, and accompanied by considerable provider customer interaction, as we have learned in the characteristics of service in our past discussion. Let's take a look at these three characteristics more closely. Okay, first is services are partly or wholly intangible, meaning to say the whole part of service could be totally intangible, or somehow you could tangibilize, or I mean partly intangible. If the service rendered includes a tangible item, then the total guest experience is the sum of the service or product mix, the environment within which it is delivered, and the service products delivery. As we have discussed in the components of service, it is the sum of what I have initially mentioned. And it's very important to consider that within or all of the elements or all of the components must adhere to quality standards so that the guest will be satisfied. It will not suffice if you're only satisfactory with your product. However, the environment or the service scape is so so. You cannot be mediocre with some and excellent with one. I mean, you have to be excellent with all of those three components because you wanted your guests to be satisfied. You want them to remain loyal in their entire lifetime. And because part or all of the service product is intangible, it is impossible to assess the product's quality or value accurately or objectively. It's also impossible or difficult to have inventory of the service product or to repair it. Okay, that's why we have mentioned a while ago that service is critical. It's difficult to repair. Once it's delivered, once it's executed, then that's it. It has already created an impression. It could be positive or it could also be negative. Okay, now since the customer decides whether or not the quality is acceptable or value is present, the only way to measure either quality or value is through subjective assessment techniques. And the most basic of which is to ask the customer. Diba? We are aware that there are many devices by which we could seek feedback. Okay, I mean, we could verbally ask if they are satisfied with the product or service. We could have been given with a comment card by which we could give feedback. We could have an evaluation through Google form or evaluation online. Giving them five sign the experience differently. The point is simple. Each or since every guest is unique, every guest experience will also be unique. They will always have a different ways by which they will evaluate your product because their experience is unique. Okay, hospitality organizations cannot keep an inventory of guest experience. That is very difficult. In hospitality industry, capacity is the the crucial issue. That's why we have learned in the a characteristic of service that service is perishable. Okay, capacity is also limited, and the guest experience takes place over periods of time. Capacity must be carefully managed to meet demand. And if the demand exceeds capacity, then someone has to wait or doesn't get served at all. If capacity exceeds demand, then the hospitality organization's human and physical resources sit idle. Okay, just like what I have been mentioning in our past discussion of the perishability, just like with that of the airline seat. And it's a challenge for operations manager to to forecast the arrival of the guests or of the travelers because of the perishability nature of the tourism and hospitality. And also it's the same with hotel rooms because if there are vacant rooms, that means it's an opportunity loss. If within the day that the room cannot be sold, you're losing a lot of money. You're losing a lot of dollars. Okay? Because services are intangible and therefore difficult to comprehend before they are delivered and experienced, organizations wanting guests to try their services must make the intangible tangible. And that is what I'm saying of tangibilizing the service. There are many ways by which you could do that. Example, photographs and advertising. When you are able to see photos of the different products, you're helping the customers visualize or create a mental picture of what the products would look like, or they would be able to visualize the taste even before they actually have a taste of the product. Okay, internet view of a restaurant interior, hotel amenities and facilities. So also photos, and now there are many different technologies by which you could tangibilize the intangible. Some websites would be giving you a panoramic photo of the establishment, or perhaps a 360-degree view of the facilities, thus giving you that idea of what the the establishment would look like, or what your experience would be when you go to that establishment. Or maybe endorsement by famous people, especially celebrities or social media influencers. That's what they say, because they would be giving feedback or reviews on their experience with that particular product. And such efforts to give tangible evidence of service quality help the employees as well. After all, the service is as intangible for organization as for guests. Tangibles help organization members form a mental image of what the service should be like and what is the quality level should be. Okay, and I could attest to that, because I'm having a difficulty to visualize what that is if there's no picture, if there's no descriptive words, especially with food. It's difficult to order something on the menu if it's just purely words, or it's difficult to purchase something online if you do not have enough details. Maybe one picture won't be enough. You need to have at least um have the photo of each angle of that product for you to be able to have a clear picture, or to visualize how big that is, what are the materials, how would that function. Okay, so marketers should be considering that. Let's take a look at the services are consumed at the moment or during the period of production or delivery. Organizational systems must be carefully designed to ensure the service is reliably produced so that each guest has a high quality experience nearly equal to that experienced by every other guest, except for differences supplied by servers in response to each guest's expression of unique needs. The experience must be equal to that which the same guest had in previous visit. The hospital organization must think through the service delivery process by working from the guest backward. Although it's very difficult to give equal level of service, um, because of human nature, that we would be dealing with people differently. It somehow may be affected by different factors. So equal service is kind of difficult. Uh, but this working backward to meet customers' desires and expectations is a major difference between all hospitality organizations and the typical bureaucratic functional organization, which is often designed for the convenience and efficiency of the organizational members. The focus is on guest experience and those who deliver it. Hospitality organizations must concentrate on employee empowerment because the managers cannot watch every guest employee interaction. Every employee must be competent enough so that they will be delivering what is expected. They will be, or for anyone who would serve or anyone who would render that service, the thinking is that they will adhere to the standards. The frontline service provider must be trusted to deliver the guest experience as well as that person knows how. Consistent delivery of a high quality guest experience is critical to guest satisfaction and organizational success. Okay, let's talk about services usually require interaction between the service provider and the customer or guests. We have mentioned a while ago about service interaction. Now, this interaction can be as short as brief encounter between the customer and the order taker at McDonald's, or as long as the lifetime relationship between the patient and the family physician. You see that we try to develop different kinds of relationship with the service provider, and we have various interactions with them. These interactions can be on a different modality. I mean, it can be face to face, it could be over the phone, it could be by email, by mail, or by fax. And now with the pandemic, definitely it has also changed the landscape of business, most especially in the tourism and hospitality. Although it's kind of different. Um, of course, we still need face to face interaction, but some business has already converted because, they have because travel is restricted and that we cannot do face to face. Some have resorted to going virtual or to go online. All right, just like with how we do education now, it's online. But as you have learned or and heard that President Duterte has approved of the that face to face classes will eventually resume for hospitality programs. Okay, many services are delivered with customers present at some stages, but not at all. I mean, um, the service can still be delivered even in the absence of the guest. All right. The appearance of both the physical setting and the people at those contact points are quite different from those back at the back and beyond the sight of the customer. So that's why, although not to sound racist, but I guess that we are all aware that um, the tourism and hospitality industry is paying so much value to the frontliners that they have to be presentable at all times because they carry the image of the establishment. I mean, they act as the ambassador. Okay, each type of customer contact may call for a different managerial strategy, different environment, and different delivery system. And that is understandable because as we have learned in guestology that the guest would have different needs, different wants, different demands, different behavior. And it's a challenge for us in the hospitality industry to personalize the service because each of the guest experience is unique, as we have learned a while ago. You see on this quadrant the different relationship that we build with our clients or with our guests. There are some interactions with our guests that is or that has to be face to face. meaning to say that the service provider is present and also the customer has to be there, okay? Such as in the hospitals, all right, wherein you need to be physically there for the doctors to be able to check you. But now, I mean, this has quite changed a bit, because even in the hospitality, in the medical industry, some doctors would be conducting virtual or online consultation if it's not an emergency reason. I remember, as part of my medical requirement, I have to do online consultation with the university physician. And I mean, I just have to submit the initial diagnosis by the clinic personnel, and of course they have to interpret the x-ray and the medical results I have had at a separate clinic. So it could be somehow a combination of face to face and virtual. Okay. There are also instances by which the service provider is not present, but the customer is present. I mean, how could that happen? Looking onto the left side of the lower left side of the quadrant, you see examples of those are electric, gas, phone, internet, utilities, ATM, vending machine. I mean, for these services, the customer has to be there for them to be able to use those products. But the service provider obviously is not present. Okay, like with the vending machine, you know that there's no people behind that machine. I mean, not literally, but there's bank personnel who have who's in charge of the ATM. But you just have to have that machine to be able to have that to withdraw money. Okay, there's also instances by which service provider is present, but the customer may not be present, such as the lawn service, jewelry repair. All you have to do is just maybe meet the service provider, and then you could go back after the service has been delivered, because the service personnel clearly is delivering a service to a non-person. Okay, and it could also be that both are not present, such as online stores, travel services, technical helplines, or answering machine. Okay, so you see of the various relationship that we try to build, or between the service provider and the customers. All right, we are nearing the end of this discussion, and let us talk about guest expectations. Guests arrive with a set of expectations, and obviously that first time visitors, or the expectations of first time visitors, are different with that of repeat customers. They have different set of expectations. Okay, probably first time guests build their expectations based on their preconceived notion on the services of that particular company, such as information that they have had based on advertising, familiar brand names, promotional device, previous experience with other hospitality organizations, or their own imagination and stories because of word of mouth. Okay, and then there's the repeat customers who would be basing their expectation on previous experience. You see that the organizational responsibility for creating guests expectation usually lies with the marketing department. So it's really a big challenge for the marketing department to set the right expectation, because we don't want them to over expect and you under deliver. Okay, now the challenge is, how do we meet these expectations? The major responsibility for fulfilling the expectations created by the marketing department and the past experiences of repeat guests lies with the operations operation side of the organization, because the marketing would just basically communicate with the market on the service delivery. But on the operation side, it is the duty of the employees, both in the front line and in the back of the house, to be able to deliver what the guests expect. The challenge for hospitality organization is to estimate guest expectations accurately and then meet or exceed them. The excellent organizations spend extra time and money to ensure that the experience of each guest not only matches but exceeds the guest expectations. And because of the competition nowadays are neck to neck, meaning to say that there's a lot of competitors out there, meeting the expectation is would not suffice. I mean, the the game nowadays is to exceed the guest expectation. Okay, so the hospitality organization must assess guest expectation, assess its own competencies, and decide which guest expectation it can reasonably meet, then try to meet or exceed them wholeheartedly. All right, so that ends our discussion for today. And next time we will be talking about quality, value, and cost. All right, so this has been Professor Jeremiah Alioso. I hope to see you all on our next discussion. It has been a great pleasure serving you. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.